The bodies of 3 were found where the family members said they had put them. Hey guys, welcome to Nurse Talk, the podcast where we talk all things nursing. I'm your host, Mia, and today we have a very interesting video. We're going to be reading some deathbed confessions from a patient's point of view. If you missed the last reaction video, we just did nursing confessions, and I'll link it up at the top. But today we're going to be doing a Reddit thread called, "What is the most disturbing deathbed confessions that you've heard?" Before we start, I want to let you know that there is a part 2, so keep your eyes out for that one. Let's get into it. Okay, first deathbed confession. Wasn't deathbed, but my grandma told us that her dad and uncles murdered the man who raped her and disposed of the body. She waited until after they all passed away to tell people. Oh my God. I wouldn't blame her. Once they're dead, you can't put them in jail. Oh, wow. Okay, next one. I saw a little preview. A nurse once shared that an old man confessed to sabotaging his brother's parachute during World War II because they were in love with the same woman.
That's horrible.
His brother died, and the woman married someone else anyway. He said he lived with the guilt for the rest of his life every single day. Oh my God. Can you imagine killing one of your family members to marry someone and they don't even marry you? Oh my God. It's horrible. Okay, next one. Not really anything compared to murders, and not really a confession. But the day my great-grandfather died, he asked me to retrieve a suitcase from under his bed and throw it away. It was full of and sex toys. Oh my God. He was 98, so good for him, but also I wish I had just thrown it away. He didn't want other people to find it. He trusted you that you wouldn't judge him, and that's sweet. We all have a little bit of something that we wouldn't want all of our family to see while they were cleaning up our things for us after we pass. It's fine. Okay, next confession. Man on hospice unit for cancer summoned his kids a day or so before he died to confess that he killed his wife, mother of the children, who he reported missing 30-some years prior. The dude planned it all out perfectly. Wife had some kind of trip planned. Man kills wife, rents wood chipper, dismembers wife, puts her through the wood chipper into a decent-sized stream on their property. After he's done, lights wood chipper on fire, lets it burn, then turns it into insurance a few days later. When wife fails to return home from trip, he reports her missing. Kids had absolutely no clue. Crime would have gone completely unsolved if he didn't confess. I didn't hear the confession, but was involved with some search warrants on the property after the kids reported it to the state police. I want to know what made him confess that, because I'm sure the children that also are now losing their father could have went their entire lives or the rest of their lives knowing that he didn't also kill their mother, and also hear about how horrible her death was. Why would he? God, ignorance is bliss sometimes. That was kind of rude on his behalf in many ways. Can you even imagine that? Your father is dying on his deathbed and then he tells you something like that? Phew. Next confession. My grandma was on her deathbed and was convinced she was going to hell because she stole money from the church 50 years earlier to help her feed 10 young children. I think my grandma saying that was more upsetting to my aunts than her actual death. Not because of the stealing, because we were all agreed that a decent God wouldn't care when someone stole to feed children, but just how adamant Grandma was that she was going to hell because of it. Made for some drama before she passed, I'm sure. R.I.P. Grandma. I don't think you're going to hell if you genuinely stole it to feed children. I think God would look at that and say, thank you. But how sad, that someone was passing and the entire time they were, living in such fear. That's really sad. Okay, next one. We thought my grandma was dying. The hospital has asked all of us, my mom and my brother and sister, to come and say goodbye. We were going in one by one with my mom, and one of the things that my grandma keeps bringing up is that she's sad for me as I'm single and won't be having any SCX. Good to know where her priorities were when she was about to die. Oh, someone commented, "So how's this going now?" They replied, "Haha, still single and my granny died a couple of years ago." Well, you know what? That's unfortunate. Her dying wish is for you to get a partner and have some SEX, so you better get to it. Okay, next one. They said, "Oh man, I finally have a story. I worked as an MRI tech aide in college, and my job was simply to bring people to and from their hospital room to an MRI. One day, I was asked to get this nice, elderly, big Italian man. He was a big human, think 6'4", 260 pounds. I would have placed him in his early 70s, and he sadly had early onset dementia. We had short but nice chats on the way to and from the MRI. On the way back to his room, he told me how he was the guy called when his buddies needed to take care of business. I believe my naive responses was something along the lines of, "Oh, what kind of business were your buddies in?" He said all kinds, but they could call him when they needed him to take care of a guy. So that's when it hit me what he was saying. I chuckled to myself, attributed it to the dementia as we got back to his room. When we got back to his room, his 3 kids and spouses, ranging 40 to 50, were all there waiting on him. You could tell they were saddened by the condition of their father, but nevertheless were kind and smiled at me as I began getting him hooked back up to his O2 and heart monitors. One of his daughters asked how he's been. The gentleman said he was feeling okay and he had just gotten back from getting an MRI with me. It was that moment that he said to his family, very nonchalantly, "Yeah, I was just telling this young man how I used to take care of business back in the day." It was at that moment all 6 faces turned somber in unison and turned and looked at me in unison. Ah, well, yes, what a great story. Well, have a nice day, everyone, in the most cheerful voice I could muster. Never mentioned a word. Don't even remember the guy's name. Probably for the best. Okay, next confession. I worked with a patient with dementia for a few days in a hospital setting who was constantly rambling nonsense, but would occasionally say sexual things like, "I love your breasts." I'm male, so assumed he was either hallucinating or reliving something from his past, or maybe I just have exquisite breasts. One day, after we were able to get him to eat something, he went to sleep for a while, and when he woke up a few hours later, he looked me straight in my eyes, clear as day, said, "I used to make love to my mother, and I can't wait to see her again."
Well, that was disturbing.
He then went back to rambling before falling back to sleep, quickly deteriorating, and he passed before the end of my shift. I always wonder if that was the truth or nonsense, but it always stuck with me. God, I hope not. That would be absolutely horrible. We're going to go with nonsense for sure. Next one. We had an old family friend who was dying of cancer. He had always been madly in love with my mother, but it never ended up working out. My brother went to visit him in the hospital and he motioned for my brother to come closer. And then he said quietly, "Your mother was one of the city's most legendary drug dealers." That's epic. I'm sorry, but that's epic. Can you imagine? Next confession. I used to work as a hospice nurse, and there was one family I was working with where dad was sick with liver cancer, lifelong alcoholic, sadly typical outcome, with mets to the stomach and bone and a lot of other stuff. But those were the source of most of the pain we were struggling to control. We finally graduated him to fentanyl patches, and he was kind of tightrope walking between the bliss of opioids with brief interruptions of the hell that is cancer completely screwing your body. Still, even in these screwed up moments, you get these strange moments of lucidity that break through. One nurse told us about a lady who had gone to bed about a month prior. Generally, with cancer, once they go to bed, they don't come back from it, or if they do, they really don't come back that far. They were having a family meeting with the nurse and other members of the treatment team when she sat up suddenly and told everyone, "I've been talking with the administrator and he told me that everything is going to be fine." Then she laid back down and died. Wow. So while it was surprising, it wasn't out of place when this guy, who was in his 80s, sat up suddenly and had some of these symptoms. It's still surprising no matter how many times it happens, though. You never are prepared for it. Well, he sat right up and looked around the room. Then I could swear to God I heard a little drum beating somewhere, and he began to shout, "I like to move it, move it." And proceeded to sing the entire song as though from memory, with the family backing his vocals like one collective hype man.
I like to move it, move it.
It was truly magical and the kind of story that people will never believe unless they're there to see it. What? Yeah, that is very hard to believe. I'm not going to lie to you. So I make reaction videos like this one, and then I also interview nurses. And in one of the interviews, I'll actually include it up here with Jeanette. She actually shares some before death moments, and they're really, really intense if you kind of like these type of stories. They're a little bit different than these, which I think is good. And you should go watch it. Go watch it. Okay, next comment. I was living in a student house in the Netherlands, and there was a Tanzanian postdoc student there studying geriatric medicine. During the nights, he was working in hospice. He was surprised elderly were abandoned by their families like that. He told me how some cried because their children wouldn't come and see them. And then this. He was by the bedside of an elderly man who was dying. This student was holding his hand. The man said to him he was racist all his life, and the last person to be there to hold his hand was a black man. Wow. Just goes to show you. Okay, next confession. Well, I can't give too many details, but we had a family member that was in hospice care. With the comfort drugs and everything, they said that they had killed 6 people over the years. We just chalked it to the drugs. This kept going on, so naturally questions were asked. The local police were informed about this by what we assume the nursing staff, as per contract maybe, but it also could have been a visitor, we don't know. Anyway, an investigation was launched. The bodies of 3 were found where the family members said they had put them. As they were still in hospice care, the police continued to investigate. They found another body, and a constable was ordered to stand by the dying family member, maybe for more info I don't know. The family member accused themselves and wound up hanging themselves. A note was found telling where the other bodies were, but not why these people were killed. This all took place over several weeks. What? That is absolutely crazy. Okay, next confession. Before I became a nurse, I was a nurse's aide for about 20 years. While it has been admitted to me on several occasions by elderly people that they would like to have screwed many more people besides their husband or wife, there was one elderly woman that I took care of for about 5 years. As she was passing away, she admitted to me that she wanted me to screw her before she died.
God, it's so awkward.
That she had always loved me. I've met her family and a lot of her extended family, even cousins and grandchildren and great grandchildren and great great grandchildren. She was not losing her mind, nor did she have dementia. Just admitting the truth. I told her that I'm flattered. Obviously, I did not do that. She died 2 days later. Oh my God. She was like, if I'm going to go, at least, make it a good time. I'm glad you didn't do that. But wow. Can you imagine someone saying that to you? No. Okay. Last confession, and it's a long one. My mother was dying. Hospice had told me death was imminent. 3 days after she'd slipped into a coma, no food or water, the hospice nurse said she'd been doing this for 20 years and my mom was hanging on for something or someone. We'd all said our goodbyes, so the only thing could be our father. He was the love of her life and left her at 41 with 5 kids for his nurse and much younger women. I was the youngest child at 1 and the only girl. I'd only ever seen them as arch enemies and in the same room only at weddings or funerals. My 4 older brothers had essentially raised me and been my father. I discussed this with my brothers and they agreed that I could call Dad and let him say goodbye. More importantly, to say, I'm sorry. I asked my dad and told him to say whatever was in his heart that he never felt he could say because this would be his last opportunity. My dad agreed, so I put the phone up to my mother's ear and laid my head on hers so that I could monitor in case he decided to be a douche. That was my thought process because they hated each other. He started out awkwardly with, I'm sorry to hear that you're not doing well. Then the floodgates opened when he realized he truly could say all that was in his heart. In quotes, I never stopped loving you. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. You are and always have been the love of my life. You raised 5 beautiful and amazing children all by yourself. I now realize that I was going through a midlife crisis. If only I'd said I'm sorry. Oh, that made me cry. I could feel my mom moving, which she hadn't done in 3 days. So I sat up and looked at her to see her lips were quivering. I might even cry. Her lips were quivering and saw a tear sliding down her cheek. Worried I was causing her distress, I took the phone, thanked my dad, and hung up while bawling my eyes out. My mom passed away 15 minutes later. Let me not be a crybaby. Wow. Okay. Regret and forgiveness. This was the single best life lesson my father could have taught me. To say, I'm sorry when I need to, and to wait a beat before making any life changes that I would regret. All of those wasted years portrayed as hate because he was too proud to say, I'm sorry. Wow. It's crazy that the nurse knew that she was waiting for something. It's so crazy to be on your deathbed, unable to move, unable to eat, unable to drink water, and your soul cannot rest. because someone treated you so poorly. You're literally waiting around. Your soul is waiting around to hear from them. It's kind of poetic, but really sad. That one got me good. Okay, next one. Last thing my grandpa said to me before he died was, "Women are stupid." What? Made my grandma burst out a nervous laugh like, "Oh, he's just being cheeky." But the look he gave me and then her was definitive. Then I left and he died a couple days later. Wow. He he meant that. He meant that. All right, guys, that's it for our deathbed confessions for today. That got really sad and weird. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.